Hi beautiful, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to create a makeup look, and this time I'm going to use the new products from Mecca Max. One being the latest eye and face palette, which is called Dream Queen. I also have the 2-in-1 foundation concealer plus the lip liner that recently launched from the brand. Also the lipstick. Now I have tried a full face of Mecca Max a while back. I will link somewhere in the screen. But for today's video, I'm going to do like a what's new Mecca Max type of makeup look. So please keep on watching. Primer today, I am going to use the Skin Filter Blurring Primer. I have used this primer before, and I don't know how I feel about the primer personally. I think it blurred my skin, and it made the foundation glide on smoothly, but I did not see much of a difference. Also for my brows, I've already filled it in using the Mecca Max Brow Guru Micromatic Pencil, and I had the shade, it's one of the darker shades, they only have 3 shades of it. So this is the Mecca Max Dream Queen Eye and Face Palette. And I have done a few Mecca Max eye and face palette in the past. This is their 3rd launch, and this is what the eyeshadow looks like. The colors in here are very mauvey, very pink, and very peachy. It's almost a mixture of everything, and obviously the pen size are big enough for you to fit your face brushes. That's kind of the idea of it. Now I did compare this to the other 2, and there's a few shades that are repeat from the other 2 that they came out with. So I will do an in-depth comparison for that, but for today we are going to focus more on this eye and face palette. There are 7 matte shades, 1 satin shade, there's 2 kind of like a metallic foiled baked type of eyeshadow, and there's 2 shimmers and 1 kind of pressed glitter. So as you can see right there, I'm going to swatch the mattes, and oh my gosh, they are very, very soft to the touch. So these are just a few of the matte shades. As you can see, they're very pigmented, they're very soft to the touch. They are quite smooth actually, and there's not a lot of fallout to it, which I personally like. It's the same formula as their previous eye and face palettes, which I like, because usually brands tend to come out with new-ish products that have a total different formulation. I'm going to swatch a little bit of the metallic. Holy moly. Those are the metallics. And I don't even know what type of look I'm gonna come up with, but can you see how that catches the light? I'm so drawn into this shade right here. So maybe I will do more of like a bronzy type of look with a little bit of pink here and there. I am going to prime my eyes using this foundation concealer. Since it says it's a foundation concealer, we might as well use it, right? Because I don't have any concealer that I purchased from the brand. So this is in the shade Medium Neutral Olive. The formula is quite thick. It doesn't smell like anything at all, but I'm just gonna apply a teeny tiny bit. Ooh, it says medium neutral, but I feel like it has more of a yellow tone to it. And it's quite moussey. I could tell that this shade is going to be a little bit lighter on my whole face. So I'm going to set my eyes with this shade right here called Mood, which is just a nice pink base shade. And pat that. Again, this eyeshadow palette has been pressed quite hard, but also the brush picks up a decent amount of product. It doesn't have much fallout, which is pretty decent compared to the first one, which is the Desert Queen. I feel like that one has got a little bit of fallout, especially the transition shade. I'm not a fan of like pink peachy eyeshadows on my skin tone because personally it kind of looks a little bit muddy on my skin tone. but we'll see how this goes. So for transition, I am going to use this shade right here. That one is called Peace. A brown with more of a pink hue to it. And that shade is a little bit powdery. But that blends beautifully on my lid. And it's very pigmented. This is what I'm talking about, like this a little bit of powderiness on the palette, but it's not a big deal. So now that's on, I am going to use the same brush and go with that shade right there, which has a little bit of orange to it, and kind of just grace that. Ooh, that is so pigmented. So just very lightly grace that on top of the crease and on top of the transition that we use. I seriously just tap once and the pigment is pleasantly surprising. So I'm focusing that more towards the outer part of my eye, and then I'm going to go back to that transition shade and blend everything. I am going to wear this today, so I'm not gonna do overly dramatic just because I don't want to have an intense look when I'm just gonna go to the grocery store. So I'm going to pick up the shade right here called Far Away, and this one has got more of like a purple hue to it. Very, very pigmented. So I'm going to put that on the outer V and slowly blend that in. That way, when we put a shimmer, you still have a peak of that darker brown. And I'm going to go back to the transition shade that we used before, just to blend everything. Gosh, that shade is so powdery, the transition shade. For the shimmer, oh, I'm so torn. I think I am going to go to this shade right here. It has a little bit of gold to it. So I'm going to pick up my brush. Oh, it doesn't really pick up. The brush does not pick up the eyeshadow well. But when I use my finger, it gave me this nice shimmery eyeshadow look. I just have to clean it up. So to clean it up, I'm going to use this flatter shade just to go over the edges a little bit. And this shade right here is pressed a lot softer compared to the other shade. So the brush doesn't really pick up a lot of product or the opacity that you needed versus when you use your finger. And then I'm gonna go back to the darker shade that we used to blend the eyeshadow. I want a little bit of dimension to it, so I'm going to pick up this shade right here, and that one is called Far Away, I think. This one right here. And I'm popping that in the middle to add a little bit of pink to the look. Going to go back to that brush that we used before. And so far the palette is okay. I feel like the colors are sort of similar and quite muted except for the bronzy ones and also the shimmers, but overall it's pretty decent. I mean, I got what I wanted out of it. I am going to use this same concealer foundation right here, and again this is in the shade Olive, and ooh, it's very light on my skin tone. I'm just gonna use my beauty sponge to blend the product. It does give a nice coverage though. So it covered pretty much majority of my darkness on this side of my face, and it doesn't feel very heavy or thick despite the formula. The shade is not the best, it's very light against my skin tone, but nothing a bronzer can fix, right? I'm going for another pump, and this time I am going to just spot conceal the areas I really want to conceal. Wow, that easily built up to a full coverage. I really have bad acne scars on this side of my face, but it immediately covered it. And it doesn't cling to my dry patches. Since I don't have a concealer on hand, I'm just gonna go and use the same product and blend that out with my finger first. And then use a sponge. This is probably one of the products that I've tried for the first time that claims to have a 2-in-1 function to it that actually does the job, because oftentimes I would use like a foundation concealer and it tends to get cakey around my eye area, whereas this one is really nice and you need a teeny tiny bit, and sponge is the best way to blend this product. It gave me a soft matte finish. I don't even need to set this at much. So I don't have a Mecca Max powder because the one that I had, I chucked it away since I did not like the formula. It honestly made my under eye very dark. I do have this powder right here, which is Blur Veil Powder Foundation, which you can use wet or dry. I do like the color of the foundation on me now that it kind of melted into my skin and oxidized a little bit. So I'm not going to use this. Instead, I'm just going to use this as a palette to put my banana powder. And then I'll just quickly set my under eye. So whatever excess I have on my face, I'll just use that to tap away the sheen that comes out from the foundation. The foundation technically don't need a lot of setting because it sets into like a soft matte finish, so I could get away with it, but for the under eye it must be done because I have fine lines. I feel like my eyes could use a little coverage because right on this area right here it got a little bit cakey, but at the same time it's not covered. I'll just grab something else and bronze my face, and I will come back to do my highlight and my blush using the Dream Queen palette. So moving on to the blush, I think I am going to pick up this shade right here, which is called Darling. It's a nice mauvey blush, and mix that with the shade on top, which is called Mirage. That's so pretty. And for the highlight today, I am going to go and use this shade right here, and that one is called Heavenly. Wow, that's intense. It's a little bit glittery though, but once you blend into the skin, it's fire. Wow, that is so pretty. So now to finish off the eyes, I am going to go and use this shade right here, the transition shade that we used before, and just drag that along the lower lash line all the way up to the outer V. And then pick up this darker brown once again just to blend that shade together. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of that brick orange that we use ever so lightly and pop that underneath. And for the inner corner highlight, I am going to go and use this shade called Days. Oh, that's a little bit icy. So I'm going to mix a little bit of that pink shade at the bottom right there. For the lips today, I have this lip combo. I have the lip liner which is called Pout Pencil in the shade Super. It's a nice brown shade that is great for contouring your lips. It's this one right there. And then I have the Pout Pop. It's called Pout Pop because it's one of those press that you press and it comes out, which is pretty unique considering Mecca is quite an affordable brand. For them to come out with that kind of lipstick packaging, it's really cute. Also, look at the packaging itself. So I have the shade Heaven Sent, which is the high definition lipstick. So it's that one right there. So together it will create a nice My Lips But Better, and it will tie in with the whole makeup look. I'll just quickly spritz my face to get rid of that cakiness we have, especially on the under eye. And voila, here is my final makeup look. Overall, my thoughts on the Mecca Max Dream Queen eye and face palette. It's such a nice palette to have. I feel like if you have at least one of the Mecca Max eye and face palette, you don't really have to purchase this because majority of the shades are repeats from the previous eye and face palette. However, if you're thinking of purchasing at least just one, I feel like this is your best bet because majority of the shades right here are perfect as a blush and a highlight. It's a nice array of shades to create a soft glam eyeshadow makeup look. The foundation and concealer, it's a nice product to have, especially if you're on the go or if you're traveling. This is a good two-in-one. However, just be mindful for the under eye, you really need a teeny tiny bit. I kind of went overboard since I do have really dark circles, and now that it's set, it kind of look a little bit cakey and gross on my under eye, which usually is the case. It doesn't matter what concealer I use. A little goes a very long way. I kind of did apply a little bit too much. The lipstick, oh my god, I'm so shocked. This is actually my very first time to actually try a bullet lipstick from Mecca Max. I have seen this floating around when they first launched. They do have, I believe, 3 different finishes. They have high definition, they have sheer, and they have matte. They probably do have another one, but I totally forgot. And they finally recently came out with a lip liner, which is very, very nice. It's not overly creamy to the point where it could easily slip and slide. It's that perfect formula. And it's pretty inexpensive. This is only $15 for the bullet lipstick. It's only $22, so you don't really need to spend a lot of money to create like more glam looks. And overall, Mecca Max is such a great brand. They cater a lot to majority of skin tones and skin types, and it's very affordable. They're 100% cruelty free and vegan, so that's something that you have to keep in mind. But overall, it's such a nice brand. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more updates, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye.